I, President Ibrahim Traoré, stand today before the entire people of Burkina Faso, before the nations of the Sahel, and before our friends around the world to deliver a message that is clear and unmistakable. The act of kidnapping and harming women under any reason or any banner is a grave crime against humanity. No religious doctrine, no political justification, and no economic interest can disguise the brutality and inhumanity of such actions. I strongly condemn the extremist groups that call themselves Islamic, those who use sacred words to conceal their hunger for power, those who use violence to command fear, and those who have turned the dignity of women into a battlefield for domination. They do not represent faith. They betray the very spirit of the religion they claim to follow. Let me be absolutely clear. There is no religion on this earth that permits the kidnapping or torture of women. When a person invokes the holy name to cause suffering, they have stepped out of the light of faith and fallen into the darkness of power. Today, the Sahel from Burkina Faso to Mali and Niger faces a double storm: war, violent extremism, and the collapse of the most basic human values. Thousands of women have been forced into silence. Millions of girls have been stripped of their right to education, and countless communities have been erased from the map of human dignity. This is no longer a question of security, it is a question of human conscience. 3 recent facts reveal the urgency of this tragedy. Reports from the United Nations show that more than 1 million young girls in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso have been forced to abandon their schooling because of fear and threats from armed groups. International humanitarian organizations warn that women and girls are being kidnapped even while collecting firewood or fetching water, ordinary acts of survival that have now become perilous journeys. And the latest security analyses indicate that jihadist groups such as Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin are expanding their influence, turning women into deliberate targets of terror, forcing them to flee, to lose their homes, their honor, and their voices. These figures are not mere statistics. They are cries for help from millions of women pushed into darkness. Every girl banned from school is a buried future. Every mother kidnapped is a family torn apart. Every act of violence forgotten is a wound carved into humanity itself. That is why I stand here, not only as a president, but as a son of Africa, to declare, we cannot and we will not stand idle while the dignity of humankind collapses. The human rights of women are the measure of a nation. When women are stripped of their rights, when their voices are silenced, when they are used as tools of war, our civilization trembles. Burkina Faso will not accept this. We will not allow religion to become a chain, faith to become a weapon, or women to be victims of an artificial order built on fear and violence. I call upon nations, leaders, and the entire Islamic world to speak with one clear voice. Whoever claims the name of Allah to kidnap, torture, or kill women has insulted the very God they claim to serve. Let us restore sanctity to faith, freedom to women, and dignity to humanity. I want to speak plainly, without evasion. The crimes committed by extremist groups against women in the Sahel are not new. They have persisted for many years, from the small villages of Burkina Faso to the borders of Mali and Niger, leaving behind not only graves but generations of fear carved into the hearts of mothers, wives, and daughters. We have witnessed the kidnapping of dozens of women and girls in the province of Soum in January of the year 2023. These were women who had simply gone out to gather wild fruit and collect firewood to sustain their families, but they never returned. We have seen young girls forced into marriages with fighters, turned into slaves or servants, stripped of their right to study, their right to dream. According to reports from the United Nations on women's rights in the Sahel, this is not an isolated tragedy, it is a systematized pattern, a deliberate strategy to control society by controlling its women. The armed extremist groups have not only kidnapped women, but have attacked the very places meant to shelter them. Refugee camps and displaced communities, places where women sought safety, have now become targets. The report The Hidden Crisis reveals that thousands of women are enduring hunger, disease, and sexual violence simply because they were born in a land consumed by conflict. Religion, in the hands of extremists, has been twisted into a private code, one where women are forbidden to walk freely, to attend school, or to speak the truth. When religion is exploited to justify violence, it ceases to be the light of faith and becomes the shadow of power. And the paradox is heartbreaking. Those who call themselves warriors of God are the very ones trampling upon the virtues that faith teaches: compassion, respect, and justice. They claim to fight for truth, yet they feed their power with lies and blood. When power and violence merge and wear the robe of religion, women are always the first victims. And when women's human rights are destroyed, the entire society descends into darkness. I want to remind the world, protecting women is not about defending a single group, it is about protecting the soul of humanity itself. I warn the world that in the whirlwind where faith, violence, and power intertwine, women are the final measure of conscience. When they are pushed to the margins, humanity loses itself. That is why today, I speak not only to the men with guns but also to leaders, believers, fathers, and sons. If you still believe in God, if you still believe in justice, begin by protecting the woman beside you. I want to dedicate this part to the women not only in Burkina Faso, but across the entire African continent who have lived through fear, silence, and loss. You are not merely victims of circumstance. You are the soul of this nation, the symbol of strength, faith, and endurance that nothing can destroy. You may be a rural woman balancing a jug of water on your head beneath the harsh Sahel sun, or a teacher guiding children in a makeshift classroom. You may follow Islam, Christianity, or the ancestral traditions of your people. But remember this: no religion, no man, and no government has the right to command your silence when you are insulted, beaten, or stripped of your dignity. Do not let your faith be turned into chains. Faith must be the light that guides you, not the rope that binds you. You were not born to be controlled. You were born to live with dignity. The right to learn, the right to move freely, the right to be loved, the right to be a mother, the right to choose your own destiny. These are sacred rights that no one may take from you. I know there are women who have stood up with courage, who have spoken the truth, who have dared to resist oppression. You are the living emblem of a new Africa, an Africa that does not bow down, that does not resign itself, and that will never again be defined by fear. From the dry fields of Kaya to the villages along the Niger River, I have met such women, women who smile amid ruins, who raise their children under the sound of gunfire, who pray through the darkest nights. They are the proof that human dignity cannot be destroyed. I call upon every woman to become a small flame, to illuminate herself and her community. When you rise, the entire society changes. When you speak, silence dissolves. When you love, hatred weakens. Do not believe you are alone. This state, this nation, and I, Ibrahim Traoré, will always stand beside you. You are our strength, and we bear the responsibility to protect you. Believe that the moment when the women of Burkina Faso are respected, free, and heard will also be the moment when our nation steps into the true dawn of justice. I will speak frankly, without concealment. In this tragedy, the men holding guns are not the only perpetrators. There are those who call themselves religious leaders standing on pulpits, preaching about morality and compassion, yet in silence they tolerate kidnapping, violence, and fear. They have transformed the sacred power of faith into a tool of oppression. They have turned prayers into curtains that conceal crimes. I condemn the men in their homes, in their communities, in government who have forgotten their responsibilities. When a husband does not protect his wife, when a father does not protect his daughter, when a leader does not protect his people, it is not merely weakness, it is a betrayal of one's humanity. I also condemn those in positions of power who turn their backs on the truth, who hide failure behind promises, and who leave women to defend themselves in the shadows. In many regions of Burkina Faso, women still go into the forests to gather firewood under the constant fear of being kidnapped. They live between two choices: to starve or to lose their freedom. And when a society forces its women to live under such choices, that society has already lost its heart. Power, when left unchecked, becomes a storm that devours humanity. When the military is not bound by law, when religion is not illuminated by ethics, when governments are not held accountable to their people, every moral foundation collapses. And in that collapse, it is women who bear the first and deepest wounds. I want the world to understand that the problem does not lie solely in the hands of terrorists, but also within the mechanisms that nourish silence, the silence of leaders, the silence of communities, the silence of those who should have spoken. Each silence is a blade driven into the body of human rights. We must dare to face the paradox. There are people who recite prayers every day yet feel no pain when a woman is bound in chains. There are those who preach compassion yet remain unmoved in the face of injustice. Religion cannot be a refuge for evil. True faith exists only when it protects life, not when it shields violence. I call upon the leaders of the Sahel region. Look within yourselves. Do not let power become an addiction. Do not let the name of politics or religion become an excuse for inaction. The strength of a nation is not measured by the number of its soldiers, but by how it treats its most vulnerable. If we are to preserve the honor of Africa, we must begin by ending this vicious cycle of power. Power must serve humanity, not rule over it. The military, the religious institutions, and the government must all be accountable to the people, especially to the women, who continue to bear the heaviest burden of war and indifference. I call upon everyone from those who hold the power to command to those who can only pray to rise together for justice. We cannot speak of peace while women remain bound in silence. We cannot speak of progress while half of our population lives imprisoned by fear. I call upon the nations of the Sahel to act as one. We need a true alliance not of words, but of deeds, to eliminate the extremist groups that have defiled our faith and turned our lands into battlefields of hatred. A regional military and security force, trained, accountable, and properly supervised, must be established to protect women, children, and all innocent civilians. We can no longer leave their lives to chance. I call upon the international community, humanitarian organizations, and partner nations to support the Sahel, not with fleeting promises of aid, but with long-term commitments in education, healthcare, livelihoods, and above all, the protection of women's human rights. Women who have been kidnapped need safe shelters, psychological care, and the opportunity to rebuild their lives. They do not need pity. They need the chance to live as free human beings. I call upon the Islamic world to raise its voice. Prove that our faith is not the darkness of violence, but the light of humanity. Cleanse the name of jihad from blood-stained hands. Those who invoke the name of Allah to kidnap and murder women are not believers. They are enemies of the very faith they claim to serve. Justice cannot be delayed. Those who commit crimes must be brought into the light and judged, no matter where they hide or what name they bear. But alongside justice, we must also seek reconciliation. There can be no peace without fairness, and there can be no fairness while women remain forgotten. I call upon all nations, all leaders, and all social institutions. Place women at the heart of reconciliation. When women are heard, peace has a chance. When women are respected, violence begins to end. And when women are protected, the moral foundation of humanity stands firm. Justice is not only punishment, it is also restoration. We must rebuild trust, rebuild hope, and rebuild communities, places where women no longer fear walking down the road, where girls can attend school without anxiety, where every citizen can believe that the law exists to protect them, not abandon them. I believe the Sahel can achieve this. We have endured immense loss, yet we still possess the courage to rewrite our story. And the next chapter of that story must be written with justice, not blood, with human rights, not fear. From this day forward, I call upon the world to awaken. Look into the faces of the missing women, the mothers searching for their children in despair, the young girls whose childhoods have been stolen, and ask yourselves, how much longer will we wait before we act? Rise not for Burkina Faso, not for the Sahel, but for humanity. When a woman is kidnapped in the Sahel, it is not only Africa's pain, it is the shame of the entire world. Because every time human rights are trampled and the world remains silent, we all become accomplices. I call upon every nation, every religion, every organization to raise their voices. Let the cries of women no longer echo into emptiness. Let them see the light of justice, live in safety, and step out from the darkness of fear. No nation can move forward when half its people are bound. No civilization can call itself civilized while it watches women be dehumanized. And no faith can stand in the light if it tolerates crimes against humanity. The world must understand that protecting women is not an act of charity, it is a duty. When we protect women, we safeguard the future. When we lift them up, we rebuild the foundations of true peace. Let their voices be heard in schools, in parliaments, in churches, in mosques, in the small villages where they were once forced into silence. Let them no longer be seen as victims, but as guides leading the world out of the darkness of violence and contempt. For when one woman stands up, she does not only save herself, she saves humanity from indifference. And when the world stands with her, that is when the true story of justice begins to be written. I say to the entire world, do not wait for another cry for help. Act now. Protect them. Listen to them. And together with them, write a new chapter of freedom and human dignity. I, Ibrahim Traoré, President of Burkina Faso, solemnly swear before the people, before Africa, and before the conscience of the world that I will never remain idle when the women of this country are violated, when mothers are taken, when girls are forced into silence. I pledge to stand alongside them in every village, every community, every stretch of land where their cries have once been carried away by the wind. I will not allow promises to protect human rights to remain mere words on paper, and I will not permit any force, whether cloaked in political or religious authority, to trample the dignity of women. Burkina Faso does not fight only against those who bear arms. We fight against fear, against silence, against the shadow of prejudice that has long covered Africa. And I believe, when the women of Burkina Faso are free, our nation will be free. When the women of the Sahel are respected, Africa will rise with pride and with light. I send this message to the women listening to me today. Whether you are in Ouahigouya, in Gao, in Timbuktu, or in Agadez, do not be afraid. This state belongs to you. This country will never turn its back on you. Your courage is the foundation of the peace we are building. And to the Islamic world I say, join us in preserving the purity of faith. Let the world see that Islam is not the darkness of violence, but the light of compassion and justice. Restore honor to the women who have been harmed in the name of religion. The history of humanity is written not only by those who wield weapons, but by those who, in silence, defend human dignity. I believe that one day, when the story of Burkina Faso is told, people will not speak only of war or terror. They will speak of a people who stood up, who defended their women, and who restored dignity to all humankind. Burkina Faso will forever protect women. For when women are free, our country is truly free. And when Africa learns to respect its women, Africa will no longer be dominated or demeaned. It will be respected by the world as a continent of dignity and light. This is my oath, the commitment of this nation, and the legacy we wish to leave to future generations, a legacy of justice, human rights, and the belief that no one can be truly free until every woman is free.